kuwo ku nabe kila Bubakar la kuwoto kaatu ñu be kuranta solo buri so kono le ala kato dam ke je jannin tol be futalan katra solo ya la do ko ke woto biti loto tol bono tale barinde bono fana bi ay ju sola baake bayri mune atinna hadamadi wol ya mutam feele banko mol ya mutam fee mobe ya mutam fee wala tinna biti loto kontantale sunuta barin kontantale mbe kontondiro kala mo mola banko kan ni atara hamobe yin kuwoto kato solo fata Gambia le amun fa pati ay kuwole je banko kan ko ay bo ada ma fate ako ay bo pour banko mo si kayro soto solo niyotu ta wala adun dafa woni solo nanta sile ngan ko mbaya mala ko alaaj Mustafa men fo ako nya ko tela niyo bo bola banko mo liye fa soto ton tel niyo la bo o man kumaya solo nyim fonte ala suwako wotumo alaaj Mustafa ka mutaro men ka kabri ya bula ako nya ko barintata murla kom katu banko yin ko kata nyame luwal kata nyame fay fali oto folo solo fata Gambia banko le mbe mo be kontonna mbe mo be nimbara la mo dunta ko kula male hejo ne loyal ni ne jojolu mbe be wede tonya sabatindi sanji woro mbe duwale simayala mo hamu ko kuti almare yake ison ko kundan ko ni dunda e ko diba kundan ko fana si tentuge jay katun dol dunda ko ku kono diba kundal ka tambi nyaato nkara molle mu njaatiyol le mu nku keñol le mu adi mantuje ntol dunta ko kule kono diba kundan ko se ben kono ale be so kayro la alma be so la simala jaati kende wa salam.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sonko. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of political party leaders and politicians in the persons of Honorable Halifa Saleh, Dr. Ismaila Cisse, and Bachili, and the other political party representatives that are here today. I should have done it in the beginning, but I thought it's a national event, and when you say national, everyone is recognized as part of the Gambia. All the same, my apologies to the party representatives. The statement of Mohammed Sandeng, son to Solo Sandeng, will be next. Mr. Sandeng, please.
Greetings, everybody. First, I convey heartfelt heartfelt gratitude from my mother and my siblings for your overwhelming show of solidarity to us as a family and for paying your respects continually on a daily basis to the legacy and the sacrifice of our father. We are grateful as a family. Today, we gather in reflection on the life of a man who epitomizes peace, tolerance, and sacrifice for a greater cause. Solo Sandeng saw the need for selflessness to overrule all selfish desires and considerations. Of course, Solo Sandeng epitomizes a national hero for Gambians. But for us as his children and his wife, he was a father who loved us dearly and who would have not done anything to lose us. On April 14, 2016, my family paid the ultimate price of being children of a man who believed. We were unceremoniously faced with the most tragic loss to befall a young, and I mean a very young family. We lost our beloved father, our breadwinner, and our consoler, our source of inspiration, and of course, a role model. That changed the trajectory of our lives towards seemingly unending uncertainties, unending sorrow, and a yearn for justice. And also, in the process, as a family, we battled with destitution, we battled with loss of home, and a loss of a loved one who can never be replaced. We were exiled. But I believe it's worth it. I would not have said this when I continued to yearn and cry nights and nights about my father and when I would see him. But I do today because I believe my father died for a cause which was greater than the comfort of a father to only a children of 9, but the comfort of justice, good laws, to a nation that really needed to be respected. Solo Sandeng, our father, cherished and loved us beyond anything that may exist. 7 years on, we live with the sorrows and the hardships of the loss of our father. But we thank God because we know he died for a cause which actually salvaged a greater number than his 9 children and his family members that mourn him today. Today, a nation mourns him because of his sacrifices, and we're grateful for that. In our loss, a country found an opportune moment to unite towards a new beginning, towards a progressive nation of selfless and true actions of a man who was fully conscious of the gruesome consequences that may befall him, despite the frightening realities of coming in contact with the callous and brutal nature of that dictatorship. Solo Sandeng decided to give his life up for the greater good. This asks the question, what compels a man to make a choice over the joyful company of his family? It begs us to reflect on the values that guided Solo Sandeng. If giving up my life is what it will take to free the people of our country, then I am willing to be the sacrificial lamb. These were the words of my father on record shortly before he embarked on that fateful and defining journey. And this asks the question which befuddles many of what would warrant a man to make such pronouncement. I ask myself this question: what makes an ordinary man an extraordinary man? Nelson Mandela, at the end of the Rivonia trial, made this statement, and I quote, "During my lifetime, I dedicated myself to this struggle of the African people. I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the ideals of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and win equal opportunities. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve. But if need be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die. This is the belief that Solo Sandeng had as well. He lived and died for them. Thus, what makes an extraordinary man, what makes an ordinary man extraordinary is the principles and values he lives by. Solo Sandeng strived to ensure that we enjoy a democratic and free Gambia. In continuing his legacy, it is a duty upon all the baton to continue to see through the total emancipation of our people, and that which we must continue to fight to see that we realize. These few questions come to mind when I speak about my father and his sacrifices. Why is it important that you go out and vote? Why is it important that we preserve these freedoms, the freedoms of speech, the freedoms of assembly, and the freedoms of socialization, whether politically or otherwise? Because these are the freedoms that actually guarantee a progressive society. And as Gambians, on this day, I think we must reflect on how far we have come in achieving the true meaning of the sacrifice or of the values that led to the sacrifice of my father and his colleagues. At this juncture, I crave your indulgence to recognize my father's colleagues who survive him today and who are here with us. I crave your indulgence to recognize and honor the sacrifices of the April 14th heroes who are here with us, who continue to battle with grave health conditions as well as economic conditions. But nonetheless, they are honored as the honorable people that they are because of their sacrifices. And I want to beg everyone here to honor these people as much as we honor Solo Sandeng. They truly live to continue the legacy and the values of Solo Sandeng. At this juncture, I would have to put my reading statement down because this is an issue that touches my heart and I have to pour my heart out. I want to say that those that are entrusted with making sure that the people of our country continue to live in harmony and in respect, that is those tasked with responsibilities to see that what Solo Sandeng actually lived and died for is realized. My question earlier, is it worth it, is asked to people who actually hold, we all do, yes, we all as Gambians hold a great stake to achieving and realizing what Solo Sandeng died for, his dream of a free and democratic Gambia. But there are those who have and who are granted the greatest of opportunities, the most strategic of opportunities to realize these. And I ask the question, how much are you willing to do to realize this? How much are you willing? Are you happy that after 7 years, we're here respecting the legacy of Solo Sandeng without the electoral reforms he died for? Are you happy? Are you happy? Are you happy? Are you happy that Solo Sandeng and his colleagues, their sacrifices, is actually seen as any other ordinary because there's no respect for human rights as much as there should be. There is no respect for political rights as much as it should be. we truly believe that we owe this to Solo Sandeng, then we must do as he wished. And that is to do right by those that entrust us the responsibility to do right to them. I end my speech with that. Thank you. And may the soul of my father continue to rest in perfect peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. We will go to the eulogy for Solo Sandeng by His Excellency A.N.M. Husseinu Dabo, Secretary General and Party Leader of the United Democratic Party. Your Excellency, please.
The honorable ministers present here, members of the National Assembly, my colleagues, leaders and representatives of other political parties, the Lord Mayors of Kanifing and Banjul, victims of April 14 and victims of April 16, victims of May 9, 2016. My compatriots, all protocols duly observed and respected. Today, we gather to bid final farewell to Ebrima Solo Sandeng, a good Muslim, father to Malik, Aminata, Fatmata, Muhammad, Jainaba, Usainu, Elias Loyadabo, Eliman, Elias Undanyang, Shagna, and Fatima Nyaling, husband to Nyima Sonko, and a consummate patriot who loved his country, the Gambia, and was fervently dedicated to making her free, democratic, and prosperous. 6 years after his martyrdom, a grateful nation joins his family today, not only to mourn his tragic loss and pray for his soul to rest in eternal peace, but also to celebrate his well-lived life. To those of us who knew and worked with Solo in the long drawn-out battle to defeat the brutal regime of Yahya Jammeh, his memory is etched into our hearts for the rest of our lives. Solo was an ordinary citizen who achieved an extraordinary outcome for our nation through selfless devotion to principles he believed in. Those principles were anchored in his strong belief that democracy was the best form of self-government for all who valued freedom. He also believed in the assertions of an American statesman that it takes eternal vigilance of citizens to sustain a democracy. He also believed in a similar refrain that democracy and the freedoms it guarantees are not free and that only those who are willing to fight to create and retain their democracy would be entitled to keep it. The battle from 1996 to the day he drew his last breath in the torture chambers of the National Intelligence Office, as it was called, were all centered around the principle that he and the nation he loved needed to be free from authoritarianism and be democratic. In the pursuit of his beliefs, Solo was determined, humble, disciplined, and focused. He was courageous and resourceful. He believed in his cause, so much so that he tried to convert some NIA officers to his persuasion whilst he was in previous detention in the office in Banjul. He was a self-taught man who, despite having never sat in any conventional classroom in a school setting, was able to speak and write perfect English. He had a combined wisdom, curiosity, and keen intellectual approach to everything he did. In the leadership position he was given as a long-serving member of the United Democratic Party executive, Solo always brought energy, excellent organizational skills, and laser focus on achieving results. He believed the journey to freedom entailed necessary sacrifices, and he was always at the forefront of whatever was required, whether it was time, resources, personal comfort, or even exposing himself to risk. If he believed something needed to be done, he would first try to do it before asking anyone else. Nothing stands out more in the life of Solo than the immense courage that lay beneath his humble disposition. He, like most Gambians who lived under the tyranny of Yahya Jammeh, was very conscious and aware of the death, torture, and disappearances that were the hallmark of that cruel regime. He had personal experience as well as intimate knowledge of the regime's cruelty, but was never the one to be coward. He believed that the price of freedom required sacrifice, and he possessed the courage to face the dangers that stood between what obtained and what he aspired for our nation. Solo believed as long as there exists a Gambia, there must be Gambians ready and willing to fight for its freedom. That was what drove him from 1996 to the day he was martyred in the hands of killers who believed by killing this good son of the land, they were killing the principles he believed in. The brutality of their conduct deprived this nation and his nuclear family, as well as the larger Gambian family, of his company. In killing Solo for exercising his constitutional rights, our nation regained democracy that was interrupted for 22 years. His ultimate sacrifice of losing his life is what gave us deliverance from the Jammeh regime. We must note that democracy that exists today is not a gift wrapped token bestowed on us, the citizens. Neither is it a miracle that materialized out of the thin air. It is the product of 22 years of struggle paid for by the blood, tears, and sweat and sacrifices of countless regular citizens, all of all persuasion, who believed in and acted on the proposition that tyranny needed to be confronted and democracy was worth fighting for. These are the people who defeated tyranny and reconstituted the new Gambia with a promise to uphold democratic values, promote and protect the fundamental rights and freedoms gifted to us by God. That is why when freedoms are seized, and under whatever guise, those who value it become duty-bound to reclaim it, whatever price that may entail. Solo was the catalyst and one of the principal architects of the reconstituted New Gambia. It is an undeniable fact that Ebrima Solo Sandeng died in the battle for freedom and democracy. It is our duty to uphold his legacy and that of all those who fell in the battle for a better Gambia. The best way to honor the sacrifice of the fallen is to live up to the principles of freedom and democracy for which they paid the ultimate price. Naming monuments after them and giving national funeral to Solo have symbolic and optic value, but legislating good electoral laws, and more importantly, by demonstrable conduct, manifesting the core principles of freedom and democracy he advocated and believed in would be the more befitting tribute to him. Free people live in a democracy that democracy must live like free people in a democracy. So Lord, that for principles, whose validation must go beyond verbal affirmation. No Gambian should ever again be a victim of their own government. We must all abhor every indication of rights violation and insist on scrupulous adherence to the value of law, to the rule of law. Both the citizens and the government have a duty to safeguard the freedom and democracy that Solo died for. To the family of Solo Sandeng, you have the heartfelt condolences of a grateful nation. As we return the mortal remains of your loved one to Allah Almighty, who presides over all matters. Your father, husband, uncle, my friend, my younger brother, my comrade, my trustworthy ally, will stand tall in the annals of Gambian history for his selflessness, courage, and dedication. We pray for Allah to grant him Jannah and bless this nation. Solo Sandeng, Sandeng Tiana, Nyonko Limbana, Kabu Yeredin, Itale Gambia Kanjura, Itale Joya Dilo Kabon de Gambia Kala. On the 14th of April, Melie fa ye burule ko bulo, bar bi mbe sutla ko walio. Bi mbe sutla ko ndam la limo. Solo Sandeng, bila betala nina lulla bang tinyim Gambia banko kuloka. Bar me benda lo ko tenke, Gambia banko duma. Bar ni tata, afonya isingul nyasiye ko, mbijane. Ni tata fonya la maroye ko, mbijang. Ni tata fojere fatiye ko mbijang. Afasajo kunjan sade ko mbijang. Ko ye men tumbul, mfana mbina le mbal tarla, nga fale ko, alafta man sakunda sifa menna. Man sakunda mem yalo kaf ko, abetal Gambia din sawola, ko man sakunda asoto tale. Ni ala kital, ntal tarla banko kulokoto, no man soto. Solo ala mayken kila Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam ala mayeka akide fatanyote. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
The poet Cherno Gay will have a short poem for us as we continue paying our respect to Ebrima Solo Sandeng. Mr. Gay, please.
When you speak for your fellow man, he will judge you. When you speak for God, men will ignore you. When you speak for the truth, they will say to their friends, he is but a self-righteous fool and we do not listen to him. When you speak for freedom, men of power will fear you because power is the illegitimate child of tyranny, and tyranny is nothing but the insecure guy hitting you in the head with ideas he hopes will keep you on your knees while he feeds lies to his monstrous ego. That is why when you march on the streets with your placards demanding for freedom, tyranny will march against you and demand for your life. And like Martin, Malcolm, and Nelson, Solo Sandeng paid that price. Because few men understand that bad men are not bad men until they bend the will of every man, and most men will bend to the will of corrupt power, but some men love freedom more than they fear death. Some men understand that sometimes sacrifice is a one-way ticket and they still get on that flight. Some men will murder dishonesty in cold blood, pack him in a box, bury him under a cave, and proudly kiss the barrel of the executioner's gun because they would rather sleep 6 feet underneath the ground than tell the kind of lies that turn leaders into monsters. Some men, those men, are the nightmares that keep tyrants and dictators awake all night, because all it takes to burn down a kingdom of lies is one honest man willing to die for the truth. Some men dare to dream. Some men have hope. And maybe hope is nothing but a loan that we owe to a guy named Tomorrow who lives in a place called the future. But his promise is the legend that gives meaning to human life. And what is life without meaning? What is life without purpose? Solo died because in a country of more than 2 million people, one lie grew so big that good, honest men have to trade their honor for breadcrumbs. He died because we remained silent for so long that we forgot the taste of liberty and the feeling of freedom. He died because in 1994, a little monster walked into our house and we kept him in a room. We fed and raised him without question, and when he grew big enough and started killing, we had forgotten that we had the right to say no. Solo died. Solo died because we killed a little bit of ourselves every time we voted for that monster. Every time we praised that monster. Every time we lied against our fellow countrymen for that monster. Every time we changed the law for that monster. Every time we broke the law for that monster. Every time we made the law for that monster. And all the times we remained quiet while that monster broke and violated the fundamental human rights of our people. Solo died so that you could be free. But are you? Solo died so that someone like me can recite a poem like this standing here. Because freedom is not free, and Solo understood that. Because few men understand that bad men are not bad men until they bend every man to their will, and most men will bend to the will of corrupt power. But some men love freedom more than they fear death. Some men understand that sometimes sacrifice is a one-way ticket and they still get on that flight. Some men will murder dishonesty in cold blood, pack him in a box, bury him under a cave, and proudly kiss the executioner's barrel because they would rather sleep 6 feet underneath the ground than tell the kind of lies that turn leaders into monsters. Some men. Those men are the nightmares that keep tyrants and dictators awake all night, because all it takes to burn down a kingdom of lies is one honest man willing to die for the truth. So are you most men? Or are you some men? Because Solo died so that you could be free. And no one here is free. Rest in peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, cabinet ministers, members of the diplomatic community, civil society, the Sandeng family, have the honor to invite a representative of His Excellency, the President, Adama Barrow, represented here by the Attorney General and the Honorable Minister for Justice, Mr. Dauda Jah.
Honorable Ministers here present, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, the Ebrima Solo Sandeng family, leaders of political parties here present, the Lord Mayor and Mayoress of KMC and Banjul, respectively, all distinguished ladies and gentlemen, invitees, I stand on the existing protocol. We are gathered here today to pay our last respect to the Ebrima Solo Sandeng, a special son of this country, a man who stood against dictatorship, a man who paid ultimate price in fighting for the cause he genuinely believed in. He has left an indelible mark in the political history of this country. Solo was committed to making a difference in people's lives. He volunteered his services for the development of his community and the nation at large. Solo demonstrated his passion for democracy, education, social justice, and human rights through the various institutions he rendered his invaluable services to. Today, irrespective of our political affiliations and differences, and after 6 long years, we as a nation are gathered to finally give Solo the benefit he deserves. I therefore, on behalf of Excellence, as someone special. Solo was a catalyst to our newfound democracy. He inspired the masses to expressly desire and vote for change and freedom. Solo's legacy has inspired us in our current security sector reforms and the transitional justice process as a whole. We cannot bring back the lost loved ones, but we are committed to ensure that what happened to Solo never happens in this country, that we owe to Solo. In addition to Solo's devotion to the nation, Solo is remembered as a jovial, caring, and kind, supportive individual by his family. He is remembered for his tolerance and commitment towards democratic ideals. Although we lost him to an appalling atrocity meted on him, we wish to remember him as somebody who fought for his country, and we remember him for his braveness, determination, and patriotism. We are committed to safeguarding the legacy of Solo Sandeng, and we therefore cannot relent in our efforts. We can only strive to do better and continue to strengthen the work done towards achieving a system that is built on the foundation of rule of law, democracy, strong institutions, good governance, and justice. It is indeed heartwarming for Solo Sandeng's family and the country that we have attained justice for him. We wish to reiterate that his legacy will continue to live on in history of our democratic transition as a nation. Solo will be missed by many, but will never be forgotten in our hearts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I'll now call on Muhammad Mamoon Job to lead us in Quranic recitation. Muhammad Mamoon, please.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا استعينوا بالصبر والصلاة إن الله مع الصابرين ولا تقولوا لمن يقتل في سبيل الله أموات بل أحياء ولكن لا تشعرون ولنبلونكم بشيء من الخوف والجوع ونقص من الأموال والأنفس والثمرات وبشر الصابرين الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون أولئك عليهم صلوات من ربهم ورحمة وأولئك هم المهتدون بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العظيم الفاتحة.
Thank you, Mr. Job. We'd like to express our condolences to the Sandeng family, Mohammed and the brothers and the sisters. We'd like to pay respect to them as a nation, to say we are aware that here lie your father for the sacrifices he's made for the Gambia. The representatives here from the different political parties, from the government, from civil society, is testimony to how much we appreciate the sacrifice that he did for our country and for the freedoms that he stood for. Now we'd like to invite the representative of the President and cabinet ministers to bid their farewell, to be led in a procession in a line going this way. First row, followed by second row, and all of us in that order. Please, Honorable Minister. Thank you very much for coming, and we appreciate the time, the support from everybody across the four corners of the Gambia. Thank you, Gambia. This is much appreciated.
hani kabi al hakilo bulanda doronko albe Gambian Talents TV le jubeka. Just to remind you again that you're watching at Gambian Talents TV. Right now, different people from political party leaders, ministers, and other politicians are going step by step to pay their last tribute to the late Solo Sandeng that is supposed to be buried today at around 2 o'clock at Dipakunda, at the Dipakunda. Yeah. So, okay, wait. Yeah. So, yeah. So, just to remind you again, this is a street funeral that has been organized for the late Solo Sandeng, who passed away as a result of tyranny during James region in 2016. When he went out with his colleagues, that was in April 14, he was brutalized to death. Some of his colleagues were also jailed. And on the 16th of April, Honorable Usainu Dabo, together with Fakeba Kori and Femi Peters and others, also went out to demand the remains of Solo, the body of Solo. That led to brutalizing them seriously, and then they were also taken to jail. And later on, Gambians came out in their large numbers to vote out President Jammeh to end his dictatorial regime. Now, Few minutes later, we're going to depart here to Dipakunda. Yeah. Where's Musa? Sorry. Yeah. So, hello. Yeah. That is Dr. Siddharth Job. Doctor?
Yes, hello.
Doctor, what is this day making you remind?
I think coming here is a reminder. And it is very timely that a few weeks ago we started deviating from the reasons that made Solo Sandeng to die. I only hope everyone will be conscious of the fact that this country, whole country, will work for democracy and stability. But above all, I hope it will be inspiring to the government of this country and the president to fight for its sovereignty. Gambia existed as an entity. We should do everything for it to be an independent country, and that the ideals of led to Sandeng's death in protest will be marked in the minds of all the men, and they will do everything to see to it that we respect that memory in the interest of the state.
Thank you very much. That was Dr. Siddharth Job, a diplomat, a very seasoned diplomat. And now let me just Sabs Metendola. Sab Nintembola Bilungi Hakilo Bulandimunela.
Ni kuyaleng kuola mea lonko aketa tonye roti adun tonye ro hali alanyala amanyinya Solo Sandeng mansakunda membeja wole atonye kukang mea lonko alanyantolem adun solo fintita menna afintita banko bele afintita Gambia le afintita na Somale bari mbe alatentula ko bi Solo Sandeng tumando baro niaje yafa imalla fi atoye fo warabe loring kuol menna wo kuoliye fo bari sanji woro fo woro wula nyato Solo Sandeng nata jura jang a 22 koto ngamira wo mu wala da baleti ay men tandi walen ko ala kamen fa la qur'an ko kul jaa al zahaqa wa zahaqa al batil tonya wala sembo warta bataroti adun tonya le be sabatila wo tonya nata wala jura jang katu Solo abelorin tonya le kannu Solo ikoye sembole wa fa kan ikoye ba doya lale ala yala makano wulindi kaya fala annabiyo moye nyamen Idris alayhi salam alquran to wa rafa'nahu makanan aliya alhamdulillah ala kulli hal sunolen ba nga ala tentu ko men ko Solo to te fola Solo belorin kuol meye wol te fola jem banko kan wo ko bilen a fotata ka tambi kumala Solo bire moliya kanu ya bunya ya horoma ka tambin kuruna kabringa be baluring woto be duwala fo ala seni manin kafarka e dundu arjanatul firdaus kono kila horomoto sallallahu alaihi wasallam
baraka bake sabali so bari dalilo mi Solo fintindi fo ala natake afota niyola je itala jero to fo bi wolbe kerin ne bang ala
amantara kerin kos man sakunda membe siring tilimbali ya men ye woman sakunda do kaja fala ibe wole ke kambi lual men nyanta fintila Solo fintira menkan iman son wole falling e koy tol kunkilin nafa bari iba lonna ko Solo Sandeng 1000 Solo Sandeng wuli killing wole be nyim banko kanjang an Solo lo tamenna ntol be lo la fo jannin siyo donga insha Allah taala
Musa fono ko to mando itebe kala Solo la replicati
malom fonte se o darajo na makamo fongo soto nole katu molbe pati yo kono le molbe banko kam meya lonko wolye do ko menken temake wolye fati amenken make Muhammad Sandeng damma Fatima Sandeng Solo fango wulu dingol anin Solo e men wulu politiko silo kan kemo bo janyul haji suwane nyul Abubakar Fulus darame nya anin modol me mantara na pati yodo Halifa Sallah be baluri na hani sai Sidi Ajata e baluri ne sai ntol be la kalifo His Excellency the honorable lawyer Ousainou Dabo abe baluri ne ntol te Solo samato men tu jang nta fala no de bari mba katale fol dungo men ko jandi lungo men ala be bondi la yang kaje ko Solo lo tamenna nga continue wokelola
as a very strong politician ibe mun advice le soto la pour ka sen president Adama Barrow kan bi nyin tembola
president Adama Barrow man advice soto mbe menkila e di fakko amanna jang dorong waya tandilo ko aman jari moyo yamare barintol ngamel lol lata la adun ko wolen toñati. This country is bigger than anybody regardless of your position. Itela najang nyinna najang journalist la najang funding ke wala najang wole kumayata title beti wole mentandi wolen Gambia dingol ilafta Gambia lale ilafta Gambia taru luwa anin tilingo anin toña kan wada male kumayata kuwo kuyaje aloka al-Qur'an ko suratul kullu man aliha fan e fango fenjabe bannale abe kasarale wa yabqa wajhu rabbika dhul jalali wal ikram ala damale man sayabe kanyana adun alabe munekan toñantol be osilole kan. We are more hopeful today that this country, the Gambia, will become a better country based on democracy, human rights, rule of law, peace and progress. And we know that the young people, the thousands of young Gambians who are spiritual and political sons and daughters of Solo Sandeng will carry on this fight and they will be victorious, inshallah.
Thank you very much, Saba.
Thank you.
That was Mamadou Sabali. Sorry.
Kadafo Sidia Jata, Kadafo Amin Asatu Toure, Famada Tambajang, Mai Fati, Henry Gomez, Nil Bemu Moldi Me Alonko, Nil Manyana Sira Jambi. Yaje, because Nadari Mayor Solo Ulindi, itel Pareta Ilatala. Ilata Solo Kamanjanganila, because Solomu National Hero itel Latawala. Kabrin 2016, Tombi, Brin 2017, Masakundata, Ye Gambia Tilindi. Ye falindirol ke menano ko bi kul melbe kela wol manyana kela bari hani mabbi solo mento hani sai na elections act amam fali solo e men kumbo hani sai wala be lori na public order act amam fali na criminal code amam fali na loi bunda jama menano ko ye mol noto na nyanto ay mam fali o kola tamandir nya menano ko melbe place to ka tilimbalia samandi aninka kodo pisir pasar ak bebe continue ka hanin sai an nyil be mu kulti manko ibe solo la ku kanne melon ko wala wulinde so nim fata bi tiloto nyanda nyi nyatan ko nyinin kala itade mun ne ko koto wala nandi Mohammed Sande nyinin karo kila ite nyamun kula kewto so kasijang ke fan sunindi wo manke ko kuti so e menta majang del nata kaitan dila ko al ke tonya mot al ke tilim ko di meltilinta al bara al kamem fu solo nal ba kam jandira manke ko mi alena sijang kana ko al kana bade kana kuma dimal fala koto me solo wulindi alo tamani na tolo fule
Sam Bade, are you surprised that President Obama?
I'm not surprised because President is number one betrayer of Solo Sandeng because I don't know President. So there I'm not surprised and maybe fang wala better fa man na jam fang because Solo moment ya betray mil kono ila na jam amang nyina Solo non dile so President man na menna wala fang better fang because I manke mo di men jareta kata lo berato melan ko be Solo ko mo la folawto amam jarewto. Yes, I'm disappointed with the turnout, and I made it wrong. Ko Gambia di hani say mam fallong man na banko kanu nkan nendia fo kon na banko la ko bari man na banko kanu na ba nyama be man nyanna warana bi Gambia be man nyanna waraka tammi nyim bewnt bara jakalo wata mo be dantang ko wolle nata nan ko kana momem boko Solo me alon ko wedi untu Solo ala wululan ala alfal beta fojang.
Okay, let's move on to Esanjai, political science lecturer and the analysis. Esange konto.
Ya ngejo.
Bilungo ay hakilo bulande munela kamabe Solo la nying bang sangoto.
Well, ngamena ntedam mande mbara Gambenol be hakilo bulande kulela wala mu Solo fada menna. Uncle Solo Father Mena in 2016, Wolm Kaja ko Gambia reform soto, and specifically, electoral reforms. Electoral reforms are well fight to make sure that the regime that was here, the dictatorship that was here, reform ke to bring in electoral reforms. Puru kaja ko na democracy soto ay bambam fana. But unfortunately, he died in the hands of state security forces. Me alonka balafa warta at the time ngalno dictatorship leng. And in fact, the former president made and the Wolem ko Solo la fa mankene majoti. And fenete me anon ka bala fa warta bake niya jibe at the time. So ngamina Gambenol hakilo bulandi men na Wolem ko Solo la fennela pour kaje ko electoral reform soto Gambia bare fanam bi gambenol nyante fanyinen kala solo fata menna in 2016 fo ko woni wol soto dale bi bang a fata menna 2016 hani sa fem man soto je woto malo warata bi nin nana solo la sangoto pour kalo ka nganda ni ku yaytande ala sango nyinna kan ni ku ya fana extend family ni a malo warata fana ay men kelenu in 2016 hani sa fem man soto kono electoral reform ya men kelenu aman soto anda be political party lo kono me alon ko bin safa president ni membe president ala bodo parti ni kono kabin solo oncle solo niebe bola o time wala itul be parti kilo ni kono so ni wo bi wo mo me alon ko membe president lo bodo ni parti ni kono hani sang electoral reform man solo wata malo warta bake man sakunda la karola ni gambia be la karola munati na mallo kaje ko way soto but police brutality ni mem fana yalon ko wala yati na solo fon fata public order act ni me alon ko ya weaponize pour ka solo fa aning honorable Sinu Dabol kabri findita wo public order act ñu hanisa is in place by the same people mel yalon ko politician mel yalon ko kunum ito lolota yaaja me kajafi ito lolota ko solo fata nyama manyana ka fa nyama ito lolota bi ko be bala fani yitandila family nyina bara hanuwo wo luwa kilingol luwa kurungol mel yalon ko yaaja me to jang hanisa luwal be jana ngamira gambeno nyante fanyini kala nyina fa ajarta la ba
okay president wala mabe baliya nying although mona ta represent le bari iyo janyadi.
Well, I see no reason why the president should not have been here because being agent of the state to alata kola factors them are a contributor towards the change of government in 2016. Hani lonnal mele kiskisiroke ntol nena londo se doya nyawanya bari ntol fangole safiroke nga kiskisiroke dalilol me atina yaja me election lose in 2016 and part of those reasons is of course the jailing of the UDP leadership because where atina loko opposition be kafu na do nyoma yaje ko nimman kafu nyoma tan nimman sakunda bonino la and wo UDP la jailing jailing of the UDP leadership na sotota nyaadi len wolen kabri oncle solo fa o seno dabana la mol fintita pour ka ko solo e dila afro walla kendo wo ko ni wala tine yotol fanan arrest so ni na dajibe ni ajibe wole baje la ko alata kola solo contribute towards the change of government so ni aje bi president Barrow be siri man se asiran kam bi solo contribute wotale woto